thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. My government working hard to end insecurity, says Tinubu. Food security, government to recapitalize BOA, that's Bank of Agriculture. 21-year jail for Randy Arabic teacher. Rival families nick kick over Alafin's choice. I have no hand in Speaker's removal, says Sanwo-Olu. National Assembly to block funding for NIMASA, MPA, and FIRS. Senate decries 11.8 billion naira take-off funds for livestock ministry. 390 stranded Nigerians evacuated from Niger Republic. And dispute with General Hydrocarbons. We didn't abuse court process, says First Bank of Nigeria. I'm sure Nima has that story as the response to yesterday. Go ahead.
Okay, so First Bank is responding, and I didn't read that the GHL had an arbitration order, but they're responding to the GHL saying that this is not an abuse of court process. In fact, let me read it. They said that the First Bank, as a responsible and law-abiding corporate citizen of Nigeria, with the utmost respect for the courts, will not be able to address all the issues because this is sub judice. But however, we are constrained to issue the following clarification to correct the sponsored but false narrative on the matter presented in some of the media publications. Said there is a subsisting commercial transaction between them and First Bank and GHL. And First Bank is a lender, the GHL are borrowers, where the First Bank extended several credit facilities to the company. And this is for, of course, for the development of some oil mining lease assets. He said these facilities were backed by a very robust loan agreement executed by the parties, in which the obligations of the parties were clearly defined and the security agreement clearly spelled out. That First Bank diligently performed its obligations under the loan agreement, and at the root of the present dispute is that First Bank is demanding good governance and transparency in the transaction, which GHL has rejected, and said upon realizing this, the First Bank, that the GHL had breached this, and they had diverted some of the proceeds. First Bank requested an independent operator to that is mutually acceptable to both parties to audit it. But the GHL has continued to reject it. Not only did they reject this reasonable and fair request, the GHL insisted that the First Bank avail its more funding, which they had refused. And so this is a valid process that they have gone into, but they are just restating the facts and allowing the court process, which I respect, to go on.
Yeah, I have the major headline. At the 2025 Regimental Dinner Night, as part of the events marking the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Abuja, the President assured Nigerians of his administration's determination to rid the country of terrorism and protect life and property. He said the welfare of security agents would not be compromised as they intensify the fight against banditry and all forms of violence. And he says he will not shirk in his commitment to adequately equip the security agencies to tackle insecurities. Then at another event, we have the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawali. He told the House of Reps Committee on Defense that with enough funding and adequate equipment, banditry could be curbed within 2 months. So he painted quite a sorry sight, a story of how the military. He said that there are many cases where he had to personally fund official trips. He talked about the one, that he went to in Sokoto, because they are under budgeted. That ministry is under budgeted, and that in fact last year's budget there were still a lot of things that they were unable to cover up. And then this year as well, what was budgeted, the 50 billion budget for this year is still inadequate, given that they still have some things that they could not cover up last year, and this year again, and he's asking that the House should look into appropriately budgeting for the ministry. He says that they have non-payment and accumulated bills for group life insurance, which is very important. The headquarters and civilian personnel units are unable to meet their obligations, resulting in accumulation of debts and services and entitlements. So a lot has to do, apart from the arms and ammunition and equipment and facilities, a lot also has to do with the welfare of the military as well as their family. And as we know, there's direct correlation with how the military feels. I mean, the military is taken care of and how they perform, I believe, perform, at their jobs.
So the National Assembly Joint Committee on Finance has given revenue-generating agencies 48-hour ultimatum to appear or risk being withdrawn from government funding for 2025 operations. It decried their failure to honor invitations for their 2025 budget defense and their revenue-generating profile. Some of the agencies that were listed, MPA, NEMASA, FIRS, MPS, Nigerian Railway Corporation, and amongst others. According to Senator Musa, members of the National Assembly had cut short their Christmas holiday to attend to these matters, to attend to the national assignments, but, to their dismay and annoyance, they are refusing to honor their invitations to appear before them to scrutinize their performances in 2024 and to look into their 2025 projections. So they want to know whether this is justifiable. Yes. And also, based on that, they are not going to enforce the constitutional powers which has been given to them by both the Senate and the House of Representatives on this matter, And then they said that if the agencies refuse to still appear or to honor the invitations, that they will not hesitate to recommend to the appropriation committee to withhold any appropriation to these agencies. And even if you're self-funding, they would still request both the Minister of Finance and the Accountant General of the Federation to withhold their funding. So I hope within the next, because they want to go on 2 weeks recession. So we hope that this is resolved before they do that.
Okay, so I have the human interest story here. An Arabic teacher jailed 21 years for sexual assault. So an Ikeja Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Court yesterday sentenced an Arabic teacher, Oladosu Shakiru, to 21 years imprisonment for attempting to sexually assault his 13-year-old girl. Justice Rahman Oshodi sentenced Shakiru after he pleaded guilty to the amended 2-count charge of attempted sexual assault by penetration and indecent treatment of the child. According to Justice Oshodi, he said that religious leaders and teachers such as this are just as a convict, hold a sacred place in the society, and when such individuals break the trust placed in them by preying upon children, the court must also respond with appropriate severity to reflect the society's condemnation and to deter others from doing the same thing. Okay, moving on now to the Punch. Southwest governors team up against ISWAP elements and bandits. Opposition demands impeached speakers probe as GAC meets Lagos Assembly leaders. Excuse me. Unitide, CBN finds 9 banks 1.35 billion naira for ATM cash scarcity. Nigeria earned 50 trillion naira from crude oil in 2024, says report. Ogun lovers wanted for allegedly killing Chinese. On its ex-queen, others regained freedom after 21-day remand, and court hears suit challenging Lagos Calabar Highway contract. Let's take one story for the break.
Okay, so the GAC, of course, opposition leaders, that's the PDP as well as the Labour Party in Lagos, are already calling on the Lagos House of Assembly or the government to quickly direct the EFCC to handle the matter. They said it is in their right, according to the PDP Publicity Secretary Akim Ahmad, they said it is in their right if it is an inter-party matter for the speaker to be removed. But if it is as they have alleged that it is an appropriation of funds, this is an EFCC matter and we need more details as Nigerians. The Labour Party Secretary Sam Okwala agrees with him that, yes, as a Nigerian and as a Lagosian, if these allegations of impeachment, this impeachment of the speaker is within the EFCC's duty, then it should be. If not, and if it is not a witch hunt, it should already be investigated by the EFCC. Chief Bode George was on national TV yesterday. He says he considers the behavior, when he heard of it, the behavior of the former speaker, he says he considers it despicable and dishonorable, the treatment the speaker meted out to the governor during the 2024 budget presentation. But we just read Nation. I quickly read Nation. The governor says, see my ad up, my armpit and my ad is clean. Don't have one. My hand not deep. So he's Commissioner for Information is saying, no, this is purely a legislative matter. Governor ad didn't do nothing.
Right, this is a dramatic. Let's go in break.
So very interesting.
We will be right back. Don't go
Better,
anywhere.
I beg.
Our governor doesn't do things like that.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.